Welcome to Envision Broadcasting, the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success presents The Momentum Shift. A show where we get inspired, we get moving, and we get results. Every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern with your host, Eric Collier. He's the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, bringing you inspiring interviews and empowering stories that will help to improve lives. If you're ready to start making the impossible possible, then you've joined the right show, because the Momentum Shift is what you've been looking for.
Welcome to the Momentum Shift, a show where we get inspired, get moving, and get results. My name is Eric Collier. I'm a veteran of the United States Army and Navy. I'm a two-time Amazon International best-selling co-author, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I love helping people, and I love coaching people. And I've done that successfully for over 20 years because I really want to see people win. And there is no greater feeling of joy than to witness someone who has just experienced that aha moment go on and change their lives and start doing what they thought was impossible and turning it into what is possible for them. So my goal, my mission each week is to simply do this: help improve lives. That's all I want to do. Help you improve your life, because you deserve to live in the greatness that is you. Now, every Friday, I want you to be ready. I want you to be ready for either an interview of these incredible people, a solo episode with myself, or maybe a remix of multiple interviews of these incredible, inspiring people. Begin. The goal is simply to help improve lives, and we're going to leave you with some nuggets for success. It's going to help you create that momentum shift that's going to really change your life. But don't stop there. I want you to go over to Apple Podcast. I want you to subscribe, and I want you to leave feedback, because that feedback, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to help to improve the show in the future, because I really want to give you what you need to get that momentum shift in your life so that you can get going with making that impossible possible for you. So I'm really grateful to have you join me. I'm looking forward to having your feedback and helping to improve the show. And the one thing I'm really grateful about is I get to hear your stories of how you created that momentum shift that changed your life. So get ready, because the momentum shift is what you've been waiting for. Hello and welcome to the Momentum Shift podcast and radio show, where every week we're studying strategies and mindset shifts to creating momentum shifts that change your life. I'm your host, Eric Collier, also known as the Mayor of Motivation, and I'm excited to have you joining me. Every week we're going to have a guest with you that is going to share their story and how they shifted momentum into the life they once believed to be impossible for them or once dreamed of living. So today I have with me a licensed clinical social worker and a parental mental health counselor. Her name is Kate Kripke, and I want to bring her on here because she has a pretty good story. And of course, how she shifts mind and helps others do the same is going to help you as well. Kate, thank you for joining me.
No, I'm so happy to be here. I'm all for reaching our potential. So let's do it. Let's do it together today. That sounds amazing.
I'm with you on that. You know, we were talking about the heat, and we had to shift momentum sometimes in the heat, right?
Yes, we do.
How quickly can I get this house cooled off or the car cooled off, right?
Well, it's actually funny. I mean, it's a little bit like how we feel in parenthood sometimes when things get hot and we need to cool it off. So it's a perfect entry to what we're talking about today. I love it.
Here we go. I think it's going to be pretty interesting, because a lot of times as parents, we were just talking about it. I coach baseball, and we were just talking about it the other day. And you just don't have all the answers. You have no clue. And if your parents didn't have the answers when they taught you advice, and it continues down the path, what are you going to do? So thank you for joining us and getting ready to share with us. My question is always, well, first, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thanks. So I've been a maternal and child mental health therapist and coach for over 20 years. So my work has always been around helping mothers, and my clients like yours are high achievers, sometimes overachievers, high
Yeah.
performers. Help those moms find kind of internal regulation so that they can show up with their kids the way they want and need to. And really, I think a lot of my work has been around that overlap between maternal and child mental health. And, I will move the language from maternal to parental here because I think what we talk about can fit dads as well as moms. I do believe that mothers have sort of a unique dilemma on their hands.
Right.
So we may go into that today. But really, this idea that, parental and child mental health are deeply interconnected. And those of us who are doers and performers, we tend to try to do our way through parenthood. We try
Right.
to kind of get our kids what they need, sometimes by doing more and micromanaging and trying to control. And that actually doesn't work when we're looking to form attachment, secure attachment with our kids.
Yeah.
I will just tell you that I grew up in New York City, and I come from a background where my parents were both extremely driven, high achievers with lots of anxiety that they brought home.
Okay.
I grew up as a very, very anxious kid, perfectionist, ultimate quote unquote good girl, needing to take care of everyone else and make sure everyone else is okay all the time. And that really very negatively impacted me in my life with lots of anxiety challenges, really until probably about 10, 15 years ago when I shifted my approach to managing that as a mom. I've got two teenage daughters, 16 and 18.
Okay.
So anyway, I think it's really interesting to look at this perspective. You brought up sort of a generational piece a moment ago. When we try to parent our kids, we're going to do it from the template from which we were parented,
Right.
whether we like it or not. That's initially how we're going to think of it. We can
Yeah.
shift that, but anyway, so I am a recovering overachiever and over perfectionist. I love having big goals, so I don't mean
Yeah.
to say it's not good to want to achieve, but I do it
Right.
very differently in parenthood now than I
Yeah.
did before.
I think it's interesting. You said I'm a recovering. I like it. I'm
Uh-huh.
shifting momentum in my life.
Shifting momentum.
And I think
That's right.
that's always one of my questions I like to ask first is, what does momentum shifting mean to you and how has it shifted your life?
Yeah, I mean, I will go just a level deeper with you on that. I think
Okay.
that for so much I'm 52. I think for so much of my life, the momentum, like the pace I was on was do more, achieve more, do
Right.
more, achieve more. And that's not all bad, right? I
Right.
mean, I really have, I've started several businesses. I have, served the lives of thousands of women and families. There's lots that have come from that. However, that to me is a recipe for burnout. And I think part of what happened for me is that I was trying to achieve my way through motherhood.
Okay.
And I mean, the science shows us this. We cannot form deep, secure relationships by trying to achieve our way there. It
Yeah.
just does not work. So I needed to pause and pivot and still have big goals, but go about look the success in that from a very different template, very different method than I was in trying to achieve all these things that were outside of myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. It does. So was there, I always say with every momentum shift, there's this moment where you have that aha moment. What was the
That's right.
You mind if I ask what the aha moment
No.
for you was?
Yeah. My my oldest daughter, who's now 18, was probably 3, and I had an infant at the time.
Okay.
And your listeners who are mothers, I'm maybe fathers too. I can't speak for the dads. I can speak for the moms. I think they probably can relate to the idea of marking successful motherhood by when and how much your children sleep and when and how much your children eat and all of those things that we say, oh, okay, I'm such a good mom, my kid is sleeping, right? Oh, I'm
Okay.
such a good mom, my kid is eating, right? We
Right.
kind of base these things on something that actually we don't have control over. Anyway, I was trying to
Right.
get my infant to sleep. My toddler, who was just always very even tempered, she came, I think I had almost like just put my baby down, and she came busting into the room with
Uh,
a drawing, like a coloring she had made. She was so excited.
yeah.
Mommy, mommy, mommy. And I snapped.
Oh,
I lost it. I
yeah.
mean, I felt rage actually move through my body.
Yeah.
And I screamed and I scared her.
Yeah.
She was scared. And it was that, and I remember that night, just like she finally went to sleep and I couldn't get the image of her face out of my head. And I was like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop trying to be this kind of a good mom. If good motherhood is based on rigid thinking and
Yeah.
control, I got to do something different because my angst, my anxiety, my tension was getting projected onto my kids. And it was really important to me that that didn't happen. So that is like, I remember it so viscerally.
Yeah.
That is the moment I was like, I got to shift something here.
Yeah. It is, right? Yeah, I think you make some valid points. And so you look at kind of what was driving that, probably because the baby was crying and you wanted some peace and quiet.
Yeah. Well, I had gotten her to sleep, right?
Yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like, success,
yeah,
baby sleeping.
yeah,
And then my toddler came in and woke her up, and
yeah.
now all of that sense of achievement went out the window. So I guess my point is that my sense of self and
Hmm.
whether or not I was good enough was so tied into
Yeah,
whether or not my baby was sleeping and whether or not I had achieved the nap time on schedule. And
yeah,
that, of course, there's so much in that we can't control.
yeah,
And it felt like I was walking on eggshells all the time and it felt
yeah,
terrible. It felt terrible in my body. Yeah, it
yeah.
was.
I just thought about some other things here. So first of all, I'm a father of three, and
Yeah.
Pop of six. So,
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
good. You look good. You're a
thank you.
pop of six.
Yes, yes. We got a
Wow. You're doing something
15.
right.
Yeah, yeah. They're soon to be 15, 14, two tens and two nines.
Wow. That's amazing, Eric.
Thank you.
Kudos to
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can just speaking from my point, I used to work two jobs, so I
Yeah.
can understand some of the stress that can go on with taking care of kids because I get off work and my wife's going to work, so I
Yep.
can understand a lot of that. But let
Yep.
me ask you this. I think here's something that I can go. Let's go over a few things. I like to
Yeah.
talk about the myths, right,
Nice.
of a good parent. Let's talk about a good
Nice.
parent. So you think to fall into some of the myths of we go to the doctor and we get to go tell everybody the percentile of which the child is sits in, whether height or weight, because we're doing our job as a parent, feeding them and they're getting their sleep and those things. You think a lot of that plays into it?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, it's so funny. There are even numbers involved in what you're saying, right? It's
Yeah,
comparative and it's numbers based, which
yeah,
is really, when we think that way, we're using, let's call it our achievement brain, right? We're
yeah,
using the part of our brain that's basing success on analytics and numbers and comparison.
yeah,
And again, isn't it interesting that we can base our sense of success on
mhm.
something that's so entirely out of our control,
Right. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The developmental milestones my child is making. And
yeah,
I think that I love that you brought that up because one of the things that I think many parents, certainly most mothers, get caught in
uh-huh.
is this idea of responsibility. Like, where do I have influence and where do I have control?
Yeah,
I do not have control over whether or not what my child's physical development is,
right,
right? I just don't. My child is born with their own physiology and their own temperament and their own
yeah,
constitution. And if I believe good parenting means that they're marking all the milestones based on what I think
yeah,
is right or wrong, I'm going to be deeply disappointed and anxious
right,
most of the time
yeah, exactly.
because yeah, there's quote unquote norms, but there are plenty of kids that fall so outside the norms because of many things that are happening.
Yeah,
If I can sort of base my sense of success on how am I meeting my child where my child is,
yeah,
that's not measurable. There are no numbers to measure that. If
right.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think I just took us on a big loop based on what you
Oh,
said, but
yeah, no, I
man,
think it's a great point because I'm going to be the perfect parent. I'm
yeah,
going to do this. Well, you don't control everything. And I think
that's
that's the
right.
big piece in where we find ourselves stuck. And you find yourself trying to please the doctor. Oh my gosh, we got to go to the doctor, and the doctor is watching his weight, watching their height and everything else. Oh my gosh, when I get in front of my friends, I'm telling them this, and this, but their baby sleeps for 12 and 13 hours, and their baby eats this, and then I've got a preemie. Oh my gosh, my baby is so much smaller. But it's a known fact. Preemies grow up to be pretty healthy.
Yep.
Pretty healthy. And you have nothing control, no control over it. I used to laugh. My doctor, we go into my son is the oldest, and we go in and he goes, at best he'll probably be 5'4", probably be just a real short guy. And I'm like, okay, no problem. He's a little bit, probably a little bit taller than I am. I'm at
Yeah.
5'10", almost 11.
You know what you're bringing up, Eric, which is so interesting, is that there is parenthood is infiltrated with uncertainty and unpredictability.
Yeah,
And our achievement brains, our achievement oriented brains, try to make things that are unpredictable and uncertain predictable and certain
yeah,
because we feel better when we can predict and when we can have certainty.
yeah,
But anyone who's listening, who's a parent, knows there are a million things that have to do with our children and parenthood that change on a dime, that
yeah,
are totally unpredictable. Our brains are wired, as I'm sure you know,
yeah.
to fear unpredictability and uncertainty. That's just
Right,
like historical. That's biology. And so I think at a time and day now in 2025 when so much is uncertain, unpredictable, we have to be working with that kind of reactive, that quick reactive slant. Our brains will go into fight, flight, or freeze if we don't know what's happening, and then to learn how to tend to ourselves on the inside so we don't suddenly start trying to control what's outside of us to find certainty. That will not work most of the
right.
time.
So let me ask you this. I'm just going, I'm taking myself into the mental
I love
quicksand.
it.
So I'm a parent who comes to you. How do you show me, or how do you express, so how do you show me that how I'm acting, what it triggers into the child?
Yeah, this is such a good question. And before I answer, I think I want to just, those of us who are high achievers, high performers, aren't familiar with the concept of self-compassion.
Hmm.
We're really, many of us believe that being hard on ourselves is what motivates us to do more. And the science tells us something totally different from that,
Gotcha.
right? That when we're self-critical in kind of mean, sort of bullish ways, we are actually activating our fight, flight, and freeze system doing that. So we have less access to growth when we speak that way. So I'm just going to invite all of your listeners to just offer themselves some compassion as I say this, because
Yeah.
you're asking an imperative question, but it's not easy to ask because we don't always like what we learn and
Right.
see. It can bring up really uncomfortable feelings. So we know that parental child mental health is deeply interconnected. The reason I work with moms, and I'll just be, totally transparent here, I understand the life of moms better than the life of dads. One, because I am one, but also because in the majority of situations, the mom is still what we might call the primary care provider, right?
Right.
She's the one that's going to spend most of the time with that young child. Especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is across many, many different family types. So I'm just going to name that.
Yeah.
But our nervous system and our baby's nervous systems are connected. So babies who are born and then, moving on through toddlerhood and into early childhood, they don't have the brain development to regulate their own nervous systems. So
Mm.
they borrow from ours. And we communicate all kinds of things through not just our words, but our tone of voice, our body tension, our teeny tiny facial expressions, our body odor, our breath patterns. We communicate how we feel in many, many ways. And if I am tense and tight in my body, I mean, let me back up and say, we do not need parents to be Zen. Good luck.
Right. Good luck with that. Yeah.
Impossible. But someone who's mentally healthy will
Yeah.
have the capacity to regulate their nervous system, right? So if they get activated and we're like, oh, there's no actual real danger here, now I can ground myself again,
Right.
right? If a parent can't do that and they're in an activated state, a fight, flight, or freeze state, their body and all the ways I just described are going to communicate danger to an infant and a
Yeah.
child.
Yeah.
And when that infant or child feels danger, they are going to be less likely to soothe. They're going to be less likely to sleep. They're going to be less likely to eat when we want them to. They're going to be all these things that we mark, here we are again, our success as a parent through
Yeah. Right.
is much less dependent on what we're doing to get them to eat and sleep and all those things, and more about what is happening inside of our nervous systems when we approach those things.
Yeah.
Many of us are not even paying attention to that.
No.
But that is how we impact our kids. And it's undeniable. I mean,
Yeah.
it's us high achievers, we're like, okay, I need to hire that sleep consultant so can get my child to sleep. Or how do I need to set up the bedroom so my child will sleep?
Right.
Or
Yeah.
what do I need? How do I need to feed my kids so that she'll eat better? And we don't
Right.
realize that actually we have a lot of influence in
Yeah.
how they're behaving or exhibiting, emotions based on how we're doing on the inside.
Yeah. Oh man, I never, like I said, I'm been a father for years, but I never thought about it. You'd always talk, well, maybe they're waking up in the middle of the night because they're not eating much. So let's feed them this to make, now we're contributing to other things. So, oh man, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so sleep's a really interesting one, Eric.
Mhm.
Like how many, I am not perfect by any means,
Right.
but how many times as parents, especially of young kids, do we dread bedtime because we're fried? We want to
Yeah.
go to bed and we're already tense and tight because we're like, oh God, I have to get my kid to bed and we go in and we're tense and tight and
Yeah.
we go through this sleep routine and we give them the bath, but we're tense
Right.
in our body. And
Right.
then we put them to bed and then we leave and they don't sleep
Yeah.
because they've borrowed our nervous system. So
Right.
their nervous system is meeting our nervous system and it's not set up for sleep. And
And they end up in our bed,
exactly,
foot in the mouth, elbow in the chest. Yeah.
exactly right. It's exactly right.
I'm having nightmares. Go back to your room. Mom says, go, come on over here.
That's right. That's right.
always always tell the story. I was Navy, so I would have to go out to sea here and there, and we were working on getting my son. We went and bought him his little bed, and working on getting him to sleep in his bed. So I'd
Hmm.
get him to sleep in his bed. I'd go out to sea, and I'd come back, and here he is back in my bed. I'm like, this dude is just not gonna get it. And I come to find out, my wife was like, I was scared to sleep alone.
There you go. I know. I know. I know.
You touched on something that I like, so you talk about all that the time that the mother is spending with the child, the children in some cases. And what I always think about is, when you're working with the stuck achiever, the person who's accomplishing so much, and they get to a point in life where they put so much into the child that now the child is starting to search out for their independence, and they're going to eventually graduate and go off to college or leave home. The parent is feeling a little I don't know what to do. How do I act now? Where do I spend my time? And they're trying to control the adult's life. How do you run into that a lot? And how do you help them with that?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And I do not believe that there's any one right way to raise a child. So
Yeah,
be a stay-at-home mom, be a working mom. Some people have a choice about that, some people don't. But I do want
right.
to honor that it is not dependent on whether a mom is home raising a child from home or
Right.
raising a child from also working.
There's some
Uh,
moms that say, I go to work to get away from them.
Yeah, well, exactly. I think many of us do because,
Yeah,
quite frankly, I think staying home and raising a child is probably the hardest job on the planet.
yeah,
And it's not the route I took for, I don't know, I didn't want to. I mean, actually, part of me wanted to, but then I actually wasn't very good at it because I
right.
didn't, my constitution requires something else.
Yeah,
What I want to say is that the research tells us that, I mean, without a doubt, if a woman doesn't have any other interests or purpose to her life other than raising her child,
Mhm.
that's neither good for the child nor for the mother.
Yeah,
Okay. So when a woman puts all of her eggs in that one basket, it is a setup
Mhm.
for a lot of psychological, emotional challenge for both the mom and the kid.
Yeah,
What I'm talking about here is those women who are home moms. What we know is that those women who have some interest outside of motherhood, it could be volunteer, it
Mhm.
could be gardening, it could be some other local community, it could be
Right.
something that fills her up outside of motherhood is preventative of burnout. So when we look at any job, we know that,
Yeah.
right? We need an outlet.
Yeah.
And I think there is, in many situations, a little bit of a setup here because many women enter motherhood believing that it's selfish to take care of myself, quote
Hmm.
unquote, first, that
Right.
I should be taking care of my child first.
Yeah.
And that's actually a myth that I want to bust right now. It's not an either or. It's not am I going to choose myself or choose my child? It's how can I take care of myself in service of my child?
Right.
So that I feel fulfilled, so that I feel energized, so that I have let some of that tension and air out, so I can come back. And when I'm with my child, I can be really present and I can tolerate their big feelings without losing it. And I can stay connected.
Yeah.
So we do know that if there's someone who is just pouring every single cell of their body into their children, there is some messaging to their kids that I think is not helpful for kids, but there's also going to be this thing that happens when those kids go to school, go to kindergarten for the first time, let alone leave
Yeah.
the home when they go to college, right? Where the sense of self is lost because it's so tied up into the child. And that is problematic in many different ways. Does that make sense, Eric?
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So, one of the things I talk about with my clients, and many of my clients come in when their kids are quite young, is what is it going to look like
Yeah.
for you to have a sense of self outside of motherhood?
Right.
Because it's required for um, your your fulfillment, your capacity to continue to learn and grow, to get you make sure that you don't form some so codependent relationship on your child. So, what is it going to be?
Yeah.
Many of my clients are career driven women. And part of what's tricky for them is they feel guilty because they think, am I being a bad mom if I want to pursue my career? Because shouldn't I be home with my kiddo all the time? Which,
Right.
by the way, is another myth.
Yeah.
Secure attachment, which is a kind of clinical term, but it's what we all want with our children. It's that relationship with when our kids feel safe and secure with us.
Yeah.
It requires both separation and connection.
Hmm.
So we can create that deep relationship and attachment with our children, even if we have a full-time job,
Right.
even if I'm part of a committee in my community, even if I'm, part of a gardening club or seeing friends or whatever that thing is. We actually don't want moms to be with their children all the time.
Right.
Even aside from the sense of self for the mom, it doesn't lead to what we would consider to be a secure attachment.
Got you. Yeah. I like it. Thank you. Touched on a couple of myths in there. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you a little bit of a break. We'll talk about some things now. Let's talk about this. So I don't know how you grew up. I have no idea what your plans were when you became a mother. I grew up in a home where my parents split when I was 4. They were divorced around my time I was a teenager. And so one of the things that I was focused on when I realized that my son was going to be joining us
Love
And
that
then,
realization.
yeah, and then 15 months later, after he was born, and then 15 months later, after she was born, we just didn't
Ah,
know how to stop it.
your wife is a hero.
But one of the things that I always wanted was I told my kids when they were born, and they don't remember it, they were babies, but I said to them, you would never have to worry about another man being in your house or having to call somebody else dad. And so I always wanted to make sure I was always going to be around them and take care of them. So
Mm.
talk to me a little bit about what you really enjoy about motherhood. You got the 2 young ladies there, and I see the smile on your face. So like I said, talk to me a little bit about becoming a mother and what you're really excited about.
Well, first of all, my smile, I think, has to do with your intentionality,
Yeah,
right? I think I'm hearing that being a quote unquote good dad for you, Eric, wasn't just about being around, it was about engaging. It,
yeah,
it was about not just being a presence, but really engaging with them. And I think that is something that can be really hard to do,
right.
right? Because it's not always easy to engage with our kids, especially when they're going through whatever stuff
Yeah,
they're going through, right? Or we're tired at the end of the day.
yeah, yeah,
So I think my smile in part was just, I love hearing that. I just think that's a really amazing attention. Your kids and grandkids are so blessed to have you.
yeah.
What I enjoy actually, well, let me back up. I did not love it when my kids were little.
Okay.
I had a really hard time during the infant and baby stage
Hmm.
because of what we opened up with, because there was so much that was not in my control.
Hmm.
And I was really used to feeling in control.
Okay.
And so that when they were little and they couldn't tell me what they wanted and needed, and I had to like predict and try, and then of course everything changes every second. Like
Right.
that was really hard for me, very anxiety producing. And then of course I would be bummed about that because the whole world is like, "Oh, don't you just love new motherhood?" And I was like, "No, I do not. I
Right.
love my child. I love my daughter. I do not love
Yeah.
new motherhood."
Right. I don't like the poopy diapers that they're all over the place.
No. No, there's so much not to like in the
Yeah.
wake ups and I mean there's
Yeah.
so I think I'm answering that way because I'm going to get to what I did like, but I want to
Mhm.
just reflect that there was a lot I did not like. And like playing with my kids, I mean, give me a coloring book or a book and I could spend forever or
Right.
Legos, but like
Right.
the playing make believe and the dolls thing when they tell you exactly what to say and when, like I literally hated that.
Yeah.
Hated it. So
Yeah. I
I
was.
had can you relate to that?
Oh yeah. I was like, let's go play ball or something. Let's go do it. I'm not. This is boring.
Yeah,
I'll
boring.
play. And then,
So much of it is boring. And I think us high achievers, we have trained ourselves to not slow down. We've
yeah.
trained ourselves to be busy and to be productive.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of motherhood, for me, it was really uncomfortable to slow down and quote unquote not be productive. So again, read a book,
Yeah.
color, like those things where there was a beginning, middle, and end
Right.
felt good. But the free play was really hard for me.
It lasts so long.
It lasts so long. I
Yeah.
think when I really began to understand that the way for me to connect with my daughters was to be willing to not know the answers to things,
Hmm.
to kind of beginner's mind it a little
Yeah.
bit.
Got you.
That's when I started to love things with them,
Yeah.
right? Where you just are going like I would practice it. I'd say, okay, I'm going to go for a 10-minute walk around the block with my daughter,
Uh-huh.
and all I'm going to do is try to see things through her eyes.
Nice.
10
Yeah.
minutes,
Right.
not 24 hours, 10
Right.
minutes.
Yeah.
And it was those moments where I could really kind of meet her where she was that I began to not only feel the joy in that,
Yeah.
the ants colony or the whatever they're interested in, right? Or the not only would I could I enjoy it with them, but I began to feel deeply connected.
Yeah.
And I didn't find that feeling of connection or joy through all the logistics of parenting.
Got you.
So I think it's those moments, Eric. And now that they're 16 and 18 in the same, I like get to do the same thing where I'm like, as when our kids get older, we want to like prevent them from making all the mistakes. We want to tell them what to do so they don't have to make the mistakes.
I was gonna bring that up. Yes.
We have this idea that like our job is to make sure that our kids are happy all the time or that they
Yeah.
never feel pain, which
Right.
will not work.
No.
Will not work. I mean, I only have two that I learned. You have so many. You must be like, yeah, that does not work.
Yeah. Well, I
So
had
even,
oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, you go.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you about that because there's that moment, we get that aha moment. My daughter says to me, I told her, I said, well, I don't tell you these things because I don't want you to have fun. I just don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. And we called her the defense attorney because she spoke up for everybody. But she looked at me, she goes, well, maybe I want to make mistakes.
Right.
And that caught me off guard for a second. And I said, you know what? I got to where I am by making mistakes. Who am I to hold you back from making your mistakes? I'm here for you whenever you got me, whenever you need me, I'm here. Go do your thing. And so I learned at that point, just let them do the thing. They'll figure it out. And
What a
it's a challenge
wise
because
child.
yeah, she was, or she is, yes. But it's, you like, because you're trying to, like you said, we're trying to control things. And, I just don't want you to make a mistake. But by not doing that, you don't allow them to become independent. And they lean on you. And now, 40 years old, they're in your house on your couch.
That's right. Not only that, but I think most of us would say we hope that we have resilient kids. We
Yeah.
hope that we have brave kids. We
Yeah.
hope that we have kids with grit, right?
Yep.
And the only way to kind of grow into those qualities is through a lot of hard stuff, right? A
Yeah.
lot of mistakes. And so, yeah, I think I love that your daughter said that to you because in many ways we say we don't want our kids to make mistakes and go through the pain we went through. But actually, if we can pull back to your point and say, gosh, I wouldn't be who I was if I hadn't had all the mistakes and failures and struggles that I had. We actually
Right.
do want our kids to make mistakes.
Yeah.
What we want is for our kids to make mistakes and to come to us when they've made them so that we can support them through the mistakes. Not so we can
Right.
say, told you so, you never should have done that, you're such
Right.
an idiot. And
Right.
not so we can step in and fix it for them, but so that we
Right.
can really say, wow, yeah, yeah, that is a big mistake.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
going to hold your hand through it,
Yeah.
right?
What are you gonna do?
So,
That's a piece I tell people. I coach and mentor as well high school students, and one of the things I always say is great. You can send the child to school. You can teach them everything's like, well, a good parent would do this. Well, a good parents are teaching their students, their child every day, the rights and the wrongs. They've got the core values. Your job as a parent is to do that, and then once they leave the house you hope and pray that they make the best decisions to keep themselves out of trouble and things like that. But you just don't know. And like you said, you have to be there for them when they don't.
yeah, and that saying, little kids, little problems, big kids, big problems, right?
Yeah.
So even when our kids are little, we have to, you know, trust
Yeah.
that when they leave the house to go to school or when the babysitter is with them or when they are at a play date,
Hmm.
that they're gonna, make mistakes and still be okay. I mean, there's
Right.
no not making mistakes. So I think that's the both and we
Yeah.
want to instill the sense of I know you're going to make mistakes, but I also trust that you're going to be okay because you're going
Yeah.
to come to me and I'm going to help you think through next steps.
Yeah.
And or you will have learned based on, all the things that have come before that you're pretty resourceful, that you're
Yeah.
going to be okay even if you make a mistake. I mean, I would say I don't love the word term good parent, good mom, bad
Gotcha.
mom. I think
Yeah.
again, it's sort of we all use that term, but it's achievement based, right? It's like
Gotcha.
analytical
Yeah.
in in using all the 20 years that I've done this work and of course in the research around child development and child mental health, really what our children need most from us starting at a very young age
Hmm.
is to feel seen, heard and understood.
Yeah.
That does not mean we have to say yes all the time. That does not mean we're not going to discipline. That does not mean we're not going to hold boundaries and set limits, but they need to feel seen, heard, and understood.
Gotcha.
One of the mistakes that we make when our kids are really little is unintentionally sending the message, I will see you, I will hear you, and I will understand you when you think, feel, and act the way I want you to.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
But when you have thoughts or feel feelings or act in ways that I don't agree with,
Uh-huh.
I'm no longer going to see, hear, and understand you. And that's not intentional. It's just
Yeah.
what many of us do. And
Yeah.
really, our nervous systems, whether you're an infant or someone in our generation who has
Mhm.
kids and grandkids, we when we feel that sense of connection to someone when they see, hear, and understand us, our nervous system settles.
Yeah.
And when our nervous system settles, we are more likely to move forward in a direction that's helpful for us rather than in a direction that's not helpful or stick our heels in the ground, right? You know that feeling of
Yeah.
like, no, resisting everything.
Yes. Ready to
So
fight no matter what.
no matter what, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think many of us are taught in our own families of origin that uncomfortable emotion means that we are doing something wrong or that there's something wrong with the situation.
Mhm.
And so we resist feeling anger or sadness or disappointment or fear. We resist it or we stuff it or we
Right.
try to fix our way through it. And that the most successful parents I know who have developed the kind of relationships with their children that I would say most of us want, where there's respect, there's, collaboration, there's love and joy and safety. In order to the parents who I know who create those relationships are the parents who allow their children to feel exactly what they're feeling
Yeah. Yeah.
without needing to fix it.
Right. Yeah.
And that is something many of us are not trained to do when we're young.
No, I
Yeah.
care from the word. Suck it up, boys.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, you boys don't cry.
Yep.
And definitely don't go see a therapist. We don't do that.
Yep.
Yeah, weak. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The different. I think it's definitely it helps you to sit and talk with them and better get them to better understand what they're feeling and why they're feeling it. I think that's a big deal because if not, that carries over into the fact where you're a parent and now you're teaching them the same thing and the cycle continues.
That's right. That's right. And again, I think there are myths about feelings. Like if I let myself feel it, I'm going to get taken over by it and I'm not going to be able to move on, right?
Right.
Which is actually not the way feelings work. Feelings move. When we
Right.
let ourselves feel them, they move. We don't get stuck in them.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us weren't taught that. And so we're scared of feelings for very valid reasons,
Yeah.
right? But I don't know. To me, successful parenting is not about making sure our kids get the straight A's or get into the good colleges or get to sleep by 7 o'clock every night or
Right.
eat all the food we want them to eat and have the kind of friends we want them to have.
Right.
Those things are nice, easy. They make it easier for us to parent when those things are happening. But
Right.
real successful parenting happens when we can stay deeply connected to our kids, even when things are chaotic, unpredictable, uncertain, messy, and there are big feelings.
Yeah. I love it. Yes, I love it. So who's your do you work with corporations and organizations? You go into those to help mothers out as well?
Yeah, so there is one of my favorite things to do is speaking at organizations where there are, women in business and women in sort of high management positions that require, I mean, anyone really, but there's one of my biggest desires is to keep more women in the workforce.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to there's a drop off, right? We know this. When women have babies, there's a big percentage of women that do not come back to work.
Right.
And sometimes that's because the systems within the organization are not set up to support those women so that they can work and also show up for their children the way they will want and need to for their children to be healthy,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so sometimes it's system based and sometimes it's fear based on the part of the woman, right? And so I think, again, whether it's a volunteer or, I mean, any important purpose driven work out there, the organizations that employ women need to know how to do that in a way that that woman is actually going to be as efficient and effective at work as possible
Yeah.
because her mental health is being tended to. And I mean, there are so many places where we will lose really wise, skilled women because they
Yeah.
feel like they need to choose, do I work or stay home? I
Yeah.
love that kind of, I love those conversations. They're so
Yeah.
important.
Oh, definitely, because we don't know you don't know what people are going through, and just
Yeah,
because you put a timeline on when they should be back after they have the baby doesn't
yeah,
mean that they're ready to go or that everything's
yeah,
okay. And I
yeah,
know I've seen several mothers come back to work and they go, "It was really hard to come back because my baby and then anything." So it's a challenge. So
yeah,
I love what you're doing. I
yeah.
guess I'll
Thank
ask
you.
you another question because you have
Yeah.
teenage young ladies. Do you work with teens as well?
I do not. I
No.
do
Okay.
not work with the teens. I work with the moms who
Makes sense.
are wanting to learn how to find stability on the inside so that they
Yeah,
can set the tone for the kind of relationship with their teens that they want. But I don't work with the kids themselves.
makes sense. That's why you call it maternal health, right?
That's right. You got it. You got it.
So, well, now I know you got the podcast. I know your website. If you kind of let everybody know how they can connect with you.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I am at Kate Kripke on Instagram, and I love communicating with people over there. So if anyone has any questions after this conversation, please feel free to find me over there. And then I have a short little masterclass, Eric, that really talks about some of the myths around this term secure attachment. What do our kids need from us to be healthy and well? There are so many myths out there. And so I have a short 30-minute masterclass that really talks about what's really required to raise healthy kids and to
Right.
show up the way you want to. So I'll send a little link to that you can put in your show notes as well.
Okay. Cool deal. What would you like to tell them? Is there
Say
anything
that.
was there anything you'd like to tell them
Oh,
before you
y-
leave? I said it a
yeah.
little low. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think what I want to tell them is if you are struggling with showing up as the kind of, I'm going to talk to the moms now, dads, you can translate, but if you are struggling with showing up as the kind of mom you want to be in motherhood, and you're finding that the uncertainty and unpredictability and chaos is really challenging for you, there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. I do think we often have an overused achievement brain, and we have not learned how to access that, what I call connection brain. And it's there, it just needs to be strengthened. And so, I think it's really easy for women to feel like they're horrible people and horrible mothers and that there's something wrong with them. And I want to let's debunk that myth before we wrap up here too.
I love it. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Get
Let's
rid
get
of it.
rid of that.
Love it. Let that one go.
Yeah.
As Elsa would say, let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. I'm right there with you. Yeah.
All right, cool. So you have the podcast on your website, correct?
Yeah, Motherhood Uncut is a
Yeah.
podcast. We will be launching season 7 this fall. We're on a little hiatus as we kind of clean things up on the back end. But that is a podcast where we really address everything that motherhood related. So the hilarious and the beautiful, but also the really messy. And it's just a place to be real. So I
Yeah.
welcome any women to come find me over there.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool, cool. Well, thank you, Kate. You truly
Thank
are a
you,
momentum
Eric.
shifter. I'm so excited to have you join me. This has been great. Just understanding a little bit, or not really understanding because I'm not a mother, but I kind of I've seen it. Living in my mom's house. Growing up with mom, and then being married for 34 years, together 36. So
Wow.
I kind of understand a little bit of it, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge on
Yeah.
both sides to see it happening and then to get to help out. So thank you
Yeah.
very much. You truly are a momentum shifter. I love what you're doing. And congratulations on the young lady. She get ready to graduate and go do her thing.
Yeah, she's launching. She's launching this fall. So, whew, let's hope I prepared her well.
Sit back and just kind of
Uh,
do your thing. We'll
That's
talk when
right.
we'll talk. We'll talk.
That's right, Eric.
Hey,
Thank you for your time, and I'm so grateful to be here with you.
great to have you. So that's it for the momentum shift, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us this week. We look forward to having you back next week. Until next time, take care.
Thank you for joining The Momentum Shift, a show bringing you interviews and stories of incredible people to help you get inspired, get moving, and get results to ultimately create the life-changing momentum shift that will improve your life. Join host Eric Collier, the mayor of motivation and mental quicksand expert, every Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern for The Momentum Shift, the show and change you've been looking for.